Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Hive Mind podcast. If you're a careful listener, you'll have noticed that we haven't posted one for a month now. There was a bit of a screw up with our last one where we recorded it but didn't post it. So we're going to be posting that one today at some point, today being the 13th of June, and then this one will probably go out the next day. But that one was recorded on the 30th of July, and we covered a lot of our reaction to the ETH ETF and stuff like that. And we had special guest Jason, our macro king, on. Today we're back to our regular schedule. So myself, Jan, Duncan, and Ceteris. It's been a slower 2 weeks, I'd say, compared to the last few. But I think we want to start by discussing the ZK Sync airdrop, or the ZK airdrop, which happened this week. As always, a lot of strong reactions to airdrops. Who wants to? And maybe we can discuss that also in the context of like the layer 0, which did a lot of anti-Sybil measures, versus ZK Sync, which seemingly did pretty little. Yeah, what do you guys think of the airdrop?
First off, it is interesting how like more and more people are doing this, dropping to NFT collection things. I never use ZK Sync, but I have, Miladies and Penguins. And so I actually got like a decent size airdrop. And then I've seen people that actually use ZK Sync a lot and got less. And that, I don't know if that is like the best way to do these things. I don't really know why I, for doing absolutely nothing with ZK Sync, should get like more tokens than someone that used it. And then, comparing it to like layer 0, there's a lot of addresses on the ZK Sync airdrop that were flagged in the layer 0 one that are like pure Sybils and getting all the tokens. So I don't know, you can kind of see why both would do it. This layer 0 witch hunt thing that they're going through, it will be beneficial in the sense that, you'll probably be giving less to just pure Sybils, pure like sellers of the token. But it is taking like a ton of resources from the team, right? Like it's taking them a long time. And I know they're like offering people to come in and do their own analysis and everything, but it's a pretty big time sink. And so, I don't know what you guys think. Like,
If you want to add anything?
No, I was gonna say, on the time spent to actually, value preserved in terms of, wasting tokens on people that aren't really creating something productive. There's some merit in almost taking the approach of what you used to see with cars and that red bar in the steering wheel, where it's not necessarily that it prevents you, but it just makes it annoying enough that you just choose to do it somewhere else. And I guess that can manifest itself in a couple of ways, but one of which is just being proactive about the fact that there will be these measures before the farming even takes place. So that I think we will be diligent about it, and then you don't actually have to be, but I think just even signaling that you will be will kind of deter enough of the purely extractive behavior that people might go through, knowing that there's a decent chance that it'll all be for nothing.
I mean, I think the anti-Sybil stuff makes a lot of sense to do, though, and I think layer 0 is doing like God's work to some extent, tagging all these addresses, and like from their perspective, it's just reallocating resources from purely extractive Sybils who are likely going to dump to real users, right? And for them, they had a bunch of clusters of people sending like no value NFTs or like super low value transactions, which like were very obvious Sybils. I think there was the same thing on ZK Sync. Sisyphus had some funny tweets, just like how his account where he was like buying tokens and actually aping stuff on ZK Sync got no airdrop, and then all his Sybil accounts got like fat airdrops, which is kind of like exactly what you don't want. If you're distributing your token to airdropping your token to your users. And it will be interesting to see whether the layer 0 airdrop, like whether the price action is different because they've done this work, and presumably a larger percentage of the recipients are going to be real users.
What's the idea with the NFT, like airdropping to NFT communities? I never really fully got it.
there's this idea that they will hold the tokens more.
It's vibes, right?
And it's like, it's for the most part, there's some sort of like
All of
capital.
our friends.
Well, then there's also the more nefarious idea that all of these guys just own these NFTs. They're
Well,
just
sure,
giving themselves
that's
money.
like there's been a lot of things like that. I mean, there's been airdrops to, like, Mad Lad's got a massive wormhole airdrop, right? I don't know if this is a good move, because, as I said, I've never used EK Sync, and I got a bigger airdrop than people that actually have used it. Doesn't really feel right. Like, I don't know why I've done nothing to like deserve those tokens.
If you do it, it should just be to a much smaller degree, because I get the whole vibes element, but when you have scenarios that you're describing, that just means they're, I think, over rewarding the communities.
Yeah, some of them were crazy big. Like the Mad Lads one for joining the Wormhole Discord, it was like 15-20K or something of Wormhole. Like that's so much. Like that's so many tokens. It's insane. One thing in the layer 0 Sybil hunting down, there's been some pretty wild analysis. Like, it hasn't just been linking addresses. People have been doing these timestamp analysis too, right? And like getting clusters of things that were done around, like the same time. So there's a lot of work going into this. There's also this whole kind of economy creeping up now of people that are just grinding, identifying Sybils, right? It's kind of been like this open sourced. It's this new business line almost. Like, it's this new thing you can become like a professional in. And I've seen
A narc,
people, and I've seen people. There's been some of these DMs recently I've seen where people will scan GitHub accounts, right? And then DM the person on Twitter like, "Hey, do you know you have an airdrop for $5,000? Can I have a third of it because I let you know about it?" Right? And so there's this whole kind of like, other side to the whole airdropping. It just seems, when you say it out loud, though, it all just seems like such a complete waste of like time. Like,
I don't know. The only airdrop I ever felt like I kind of deserved was like the Arbitrum one, because like I used Arbitrum a lot and it's like, interacted like early DeFi there a lot. But that was like the only one I actually felt like, okay, maybe I had somewhat of like a positive impact on the chain. And then I also like wrote about it on Twitter, but that doesn't get accounted for in airdrop. But it's like, I think a lot of this stuff, like just moving money through something and inflating their stats, like literally gives zero value.
yeah,
It's like I feel like there should be some sort of like risk measure, but I guess like you do take on some smart contract risk or like protocol risk if you're transferring large sums through.
I mean, so this is
Very
the thing.
little with a bridge.
Very
compared
little
to-
with. Well, for the bridge, it's the LPs, right? So I've seen a lot of people. They keep harping on linear airdrops, which I agree are probably better for a lot of things.
And
especially if it's just
in your airdrops, or where it's just proportional to the amount of value you either have locked in the system or the volume that you did through it, right?
Yeah. So I think that linear airdrops for TVL make sense, like LPs in Stargate Bridge, because they're letting it sit there and you're the one taking a lot of the risk. Like, if you're someone bridging through Stargate, you're not taking a ton of risk. So, because like you get settled, you'd have something would have to happen in like the exact time that you're kind of like bridging through and all that. And so as an LP, though, you're taking a ton of risk because you're touching a bunch of different chains, a lot of different smart contracts.
And you're actually doing something valuable, right? You're providing liquidity that people can use to use the service.
Yeah, like their service only works with those people, right? They're the most important.
Yeah. And I feel like that should be weighted to, linearly in terms of how much capital you're providing, but then also a time weight. Like the first LPs in to actually like fuck, like we're the first capital deployed. Like those are the people who actually, I feel like you can make an argument for.
That's what happened with this Uniswap airdrop, right? Like the early LPs really got like ridiculous, like 7-figure airdrops at the time.
Curve 2.
Yeah. Because those are the people actually taking the risk. And
it's just with bridges, there's no like, for instance, with layer 0, obviously like Stargate has its own token. There's not really an obvious way to do it linearly, right? Like the people actually transferring value through the bridge don't have money at risk for that long. And then also there's like a lot of transactions that go through bridges that like the financial value of the transaction itself might not be high, but it could be like a governance message or something for a protocol.
But I mean, should
like the idea that the people transferring value through the bridge aren't really providing a lot of value.
Yeah.
I think the way you can argue that they should get something is because or not argue, but the way that you can rationalize it is, these tokens are valued by on-chain or by the amount of volume the bridge will do, roughly. These aren't super efficient markets, but so if you assume that, then their activity will support a higher valuation for the token, which will allow them to incentivize more people to provide liquidity to the bridge for less. For the same amount of tokens, you can incentivize more liquidity onto the bridge. So it does provide like second order value, because it gives value potentially inflated to the protocol, which then allows them to incentivize more liquidity and makes the product better. But yeah, it all boils down to just getting more LPs.
Yeah, I mean, if you give, like I don't even know if people using the bridge to transfer tokens should even get an airdrop. They got the.
I think you get something small, but like the real value is in the LPs, in the early LPs, and then also people who just like talk about your protocol and like attract more users.
That's really difficult that's really difficult. The thing is, whenever you start trying to incentivize those people, you create massive incentives for Sybils. Like we've seen literally hundreds of like bounty hunter or like quest campaigns, right? And those things are just so easy to game ever since 2017. Like, I want you to tweet about it.
It's like those are much more difficult to reward correctly.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. It's like you could like pick some like community members at the end who you thought like, and then that obviously you run into a bunch of issues. But like,
I think you could do like top 10 most engaged with posts on Twitter every month kind of thing.
Yeah, but then those get botted.
Yeah, but it's still like something tangible, and it's not open-ended, right? Where it's just like
you do it like backwards looking, like you don't, like you were saying before, like you don't announce that you're gonna do that and then go back on.
You kind of want to announce for that one though, right? Because you do want people chatting about it.
Yeah, but then they're good. Yeah. Anyways, it
I mean,
depends
for everything with this stuff, like what you were saying before, Jan, like with everything with this stuff, it's better if you don't announce, right? Like even the Sybil stuff, it's better if you don't announce and you have a bunch of Sybil activity going through it. Your stats look like, I mean, in this respect, intentionally or not, Layer Zero sort of played it perfectly. You get all the volume, and then you can kind of correct later. Hopefully that becomes. If more people start doing that, then you'll just naturally get less Sybils or more sophisticated ones. I think stopping it all together will be pretty much impossible.
Should we do next topic?
Yeah, let's do it. Next topic. Do you want to do? There's a bunch of topics. Do you want to do the Tolly Justin Drake debate? I suspect Duncan and Jan won't want to, and then me and Cedric will. Or we can do Symbiotic.
Well, tell me the big takeaways from any major takeaways from that debate. I saw like one clip on Twitter, but
I don't know. I thought, what was your general? Did you guys all listen to it?
Mm-hmm.
I listened to it, but it's not like I came away with a different change of like frame of mind or a different understanding where each of them lie on. Like I'm not sure I really learned anything.
No, I mean, I thought that basically Justin Drake was pretty academic and often spoke about things in abstract and like theoretical terms rather than practical ones, and that he was using a lot of future Ethereum roadmap items, including ones that are sort of like not even really spec, like pre-confirmations and dank sharding and shared sequencing, and like this world of atomic composability between all the rollups, and comparing it to like the current version of Solana, which wasn't really fair. And like he kind of said, oh yeah, it'll be trivial to build all this stuff, but like knowing the Ethereum development speed, like when I entered crypto in 2017, the merge was going to happen that year. That was That was like the big narrative when I entered to buy ETH. Like
6
and
years
sharding was
later.
happening next year, you know. So I don't know about it being trivial. And then totally on the other side, he's like so in the weeds and like engineer that I find him pretty hard to follow sometimes. I don't think he's a great communicator to a non-technical audience. Honestly, there's a lot of like assumed computer science engineering background that I feel like you need to understand what he's saying. Like I actually found Justin Drake's "So What He's Saying Is" like summaries that was like really useful to actually figure out what Totali's point was a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of a really good, I think, sort of summary of the ETH and Solana camps, right? ETH is like more academic, research heavy, and Solana is just like engineers, builders, and you kind of see it in the culture and everything else too.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with your point about, I think some claims are just seen as like something super simple to do. Like, yeah, we're just going to have atomic based sequencing across 100 rollups. That's something that's very difficult to achieve. And the path that like these pre-comps are going down also is just starting to look more and more like Solana's continuous block production too. So I think the main takeaways, I mean, we've said this a lot, and there's like a good topic from Research Day, Josh Bowen and Astrid on this about how we're all like building the same thing. And obviously it's not exactly the same thing, but
What's a pre-confirmation? Because I've heard that term a bunch.
it's like a sequencer validator giving like a confirmation that your transaction will be
Included,
like
just like
included. And so it's like a fast UX, right? And so it kind of looks like in Solana, you have continuous block production, taking apart like Jito's mempool because they've added discrete block production. But basically, when transactions come in, they just get added to the block, right?
Yeah.
And that would kind of be like if you play this pre-conf thing out far enough, that's kind of what it would end up looking like too. So yeah, it's very like, yeah, it doesn't change. It's very engineering versus academic. There are things with Solana like they still don't have formal verification of like their consensus or anything. Those are good critiques. Like that's good FUD. I think like Solana is still too close source. I think that's good FUD as well.
Why don't we do a quick test, like go around the horn? Do you own more ETH or Solana right now? And who do you think won the debate? So are you starting with you, Ceteris? Do you own more ETH or Solana? And who do you think won?
I own more Sol, but I mean I do own both. Who do I think won?
If you had to gun to your head, say who won.
Honestly, maybe Drake, like, which is just because I think he even though I don't agree with everything he said, and I think some of the claims are a bit too like confident, I think he did a good job of explaining everything. He definitely came prepared with a lot of knowledge. And Toli is just this kind of like laid back surfer dude vibe where sometimes he laughs off when Justin makes a point.
He was laughing the whole time. Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to like, I don't know if always laughing is like a great response to critique, right? So then it's like I kind of want to know more. So yeah.
What about you guys, Duncan, Jan?
I didn't watch it, so I don't know. And I've had more exposure to ETH, but like still have exposure to Sol, but definitely like more weighted towards ETH.
I thought you were super bullish Sol. You kept posting fucking Sol charts and stuff in the chat.
No, like I have like Sol longs on, but it's just like all of like a lot of like alt projects I invest in are on ETH, so it's like.
Nah, that doesn't count. I'm talking about like ETH, the asset.
Okay,
Sol
I have more exposure to Sol going out than ETH, because I have a long on.
What about you, Jan?
Right now I have more ETH. But
having more ETH is probably the right move, to be honest.
Yeah, not by a massive margin.
What
but
do you
it just
mean
like
the right move? Why? What the fuck you said? You're like the resident Sol bull.
Well, it's like I think now I think there's been a big repricing over the last year, and I think that honestly they're probably fairly valued against one another.
So
Like I don't
what
really have a strong take.
is ETH like
You know what's
4x
cheapest against
Sol
them
or
all?
something?
Telegram.
Wait, I'm looking this up.
Ton is the best RR of
ETH
the
is
three.
like ETH is like
Oh, we talked about
five.
Telegram. Yeah, we talked about Telegram. Should do that in a
ETH
second.
is
I'm
like
just pulling up the
5 or
numbers.
6x Sol right now.
Okay, Sol market cap is 85 billion. FDV ETH is 420. So yeah, like 5x.
Yeah, so I don't
You
know.
think that's fair?
I mean, it's like I don't think Sol is flipping ETH this cycle. So it was kind of like when ETH was at 08 BTC, and you're looking at it and you're like, is ETH gonna flip Bitcoin? If you think no, then that's a pretty high.
But do you think 5x is fair? 5XL?
I think it could. I think it could get. I think long term it could get to like a third, right? And so I still think there's upside in the pair, but
Long term we could get to a third.
but like
You
medium
sound
term,
so bearish.
but like I mean things can always change. Like things, I mean I'm not gonna do this industry change so fast. I'm not gonna make some prediction about like what I think 5 years will look like. I think though in the medium term, like the ETH ETF should be, unless like flows just completely
It's all
disappear,
flows.
like it's going to be hard
Yeah.
to perform all those
Yeah.
flows coming in every day.
That's fair. That's a fair
Are there a
point.
lot of what are the unlocks like for Sol?
They're like the big one is like March 25.
Yeah.
But what
Sorry,
about
some
Fire
more-
Dancer? You're a bull posting Fire Dancer in the chat.
Yeah, I mean Fire Dancer is bullish. Like I think people you're talking about, I think Solana will continue to get most of like the new users, and I think that especially when Fire Dancer starts going live, even like Franken Dancer first, and then like the full client hopefully next year. I think it'll continue to get. I think Solana has a good chance of flipping Ethereum on most metrics. Like I think that is definitely an outcome that can happen. But we're talking about kind of like two different things. Flows, like ETH got an ETF. That's
So yeah, okay, fair enough. So you're just more of a passive flows bull rather than like actually shit happening on ETH versus Solana.
I love flows.
Okay. Ton is a good one to talk about. I feel like it's started to get a little bit of buzz on Twitter recently. Jan and I have been talking about it a bunch. But the high level bull case for them is, so I think they're like, I'm just gonna check, 15 billion market cap, like
more.
30 billion. Okay. What is it? Okay, 18 billion market cap, 40 billion FTV, so 38 billion FTV. So, you know, it's about a third the size of Solana on a market cap basis, but obviously Telegram has like 800 million monthly active users, and every single one of those people have gotten a crypto wallet if you don't have a US number. So that's like some pretty wild distribution. Like it's just like right in the app. So like, you know, this is as well distributed as like a WeChat or like, you know, iMessenger or Facebook Messenger, like on that order of magnitude. I think there's something like 30 million active addresses, and that's kind of like hockey sticking up recently with these new games. Two big ones are Not Coin, which is like a clicker game that's launched, and then also Hamster Combat, which is like another clicker game, but it's kind of these mini games in the Telegram app. Apparently there's like millions of mini games in these Telegram apps, and people are starting to layer on like crypto tokens there for distribution.
Have you played any of them?
Yeah, I see Hamster Combat.
Are they fun?
Well, no.
No, you just tap.
But Hamster, like they're getting more complicated, but it's actually like, okay, listen, I'm expecting to get like $5 airdrop from this, but they incentivize me to follow their Twitter, subscribe to their YouTube. I log in every day to get my bonus. It's like, it works.
You're gonna get blocked by the Sybil.
So it's like this is what it looks like, and you tap, and then you can buy. You know, my legal team, I can upgrade my KYC and get more coins.
They're paying you for KYC.
No. Like they have like they pretend that you run an exchange.
Oh,
So
okay.
like, upgrade your leverage trading, upgrade your pairs, upgrade your liquidity. You know, hire a PR person. Anyways, but then they incentivize like doing all these different things on. God, the glare is really bad. But basically, they incentivize to like join the Telegram channel, follow the Twitter account, follow the YouTube account. Like their Telegram channel has 35 million people in it. This was like 28 million people last week. Even if like 10% of these are real people and the rest are bots, it's like kind of staggering numbers. So just as like a distribution, and then they're going to launch their token on Ton, but just as like a distribution mechanism to get to that many people, like Ethereum has like 4 million people on it. So like you're talking about like multiple orders of magnitude more potential users that already have this like in their wallet.
Yeah, I think
So like the big apps problem, right, is a user problem. And so in crypto and what apps have been trying to do is obfuscate the crypto element and make it as kind of Web 2 as possible, but then layer in the incentives on top. So you use them as a carrot rather than a barrier. And you know, if you're thinking about what has the best opportunity to do that is Telegram right now, right? You have people there for an app that's not crypto related. So you have a really widespread demographic of users geographically and you know, just the user themselves being varied. But and so you have the ability to you know, have them tap into, or the ability to tap into all these users where all these other platforms are kind of starving for it. And it's one of the more unique setups for just throwing an app on a massive user base and having it take off like wildfire without really needing to go through the hoops of trying to onboard them in unique and simple ways.
Yeah, it's just like these mini apps are really cool. The DeFi ecosystem on Ton is still like pretty early, and like the user experience is like, you know, their wallets and like doing swaps. It works, it's fine, but it's definitely not at the level of like Ethereum or Solana in terms of just like smoothness, and definitely less things you can do. But I feel like, you know, Ethereum, the argument for Ethereum is like it has all these like apps, it has like all this value locked on it, but it doesn't have a ton of users. And maybe the users that Ethereum have are like much higher value probably than the users that like Ton has, but Ton has like literally like multiple orders of magnitude more potential users. So it seems like it could be pretty interesting because that's the one thing that crypto's really lacked is this distribution angle.
I think the bear case, I hold Ton as well. So, but I think the bear case is just the quality of the apps, at least, and we've done a few checks from ventures, some quality teams, but definitely the quality of teams in general compared to Ether Solana is pretty low, and like a lot of the stuff is pretty low effort. I would say it's like starting to change maybe more recently.
It's a very solvable problem though.
They arguably have the hardest thing to acquire, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
And like we have enough block space now. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but they have their own virtual machine, right? I don't know much about it. We looked into it a little while ago, and yeah, there wasn't anything there. But again, they have this massive distribution. So,
yeah. Well, the funny thing is, and I'm thinking about like Ton, the token, I guess relative, it's one of the few that you've seen have relative strength when everything else has been selling off a bit, and is I guess kind of, you wonder how much repositioning there is from like, do you think it's other L1s to Ton or just broader sell off and stronger bid to Ton? Yeah, is it something that's like cannibalizing demand elsewhere? Probably not, but I mean, to some degree, I think it's definitely doing that because it is big enough now at like a quarter of Sol market cap.
well, there's also a lot of people
It's a
use
lot,
a lot of people, which I find weird, is a lot of people actually use Telegram just as like a messenger that aren't crypto people.
Yeah.
Which I never
that's
really
funny.
understood. Which I never understood.
At first, I thought it
But-
was drugs because you'd always see like your friend joined Telegram, and I'm like, oh, you're buying some drugs.
Yeah,
I think it's like probably like it's like similar to Signal. Like Signal has done like a way better job at marketing, but I think in terms of like security and stuff, and encryption, it's probably at that level, and also like cross-platform.
Telegram has terrible security. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I don't think it is.
Are you sure?
It's all unencrypted. The
Pretty sure,
employees
yeah.
can read all your messages. It's terrible that we as an industry use this. It's
Yeah.
awful. Like it is actually terrible.
I listened to the
Yeah,
Tucker
Duncan has a
Carlson
bag now.
Pavel conversation, and I thought it was pretty good. He made it sound like they had some good security.
That's your DD.
I don't know
You're
about
just gonna listen to the
InfoSec.
founders chilling.
Yeah, exactly.
Bull market, sir. And nobody got time for DD.
Well, I would just kind of assume it's decent, given
It isn't.
like the whole story of the company.
Yeah, it's not.
Where are your sources on that? I listened to the guy who made it.
It's the source is them. It's literally unencrypted. That's all you need to know.
What does that mean?
It means that employees at Telegram can read all your messages.
Yeah, well,
Any government can read all your messages.
I don't think. Okay, so they were like saying that they were getting letters from governments and stuff to like ask for messages, but if they could just go in and do that, then why would they need to?
I think this is another discussion. You need to.
You could educate me on this stuff later.
Yeah.
But like the government's request for stuff, if they could just go in and read it, why would they request?
No. Like
No,
they can read it with the request. Like the point is that it's there. Where something like Signal, it's the Signal can't get your messages. So even if they get requests, they can't.
I think Signal can get your messages.
No, they can't. Like if you believe there's a backdoor, like this is the thing. The flood against Signal is pretty bad, and it's coming from like
You
Telegram
got Signal
side. Coming
bags
from,
or
so I mean, I wish but actually, it's not going to make any money. But Signal's security is so good that people try to find like a little tiny flaw that could potentially be there, like potentially a backdoor. Meanwhile, Telegram is literally unencrypted. Like it's just bad. Overall.
How did they know that Tucker Carlson was planning an interview with Putin then?
All right, let's change the
backdoor, buddy.
Topic.
Yeah. Do you want to go on to the Symbiotic launch?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much. I don't know if there's much to
Right now.
say. It's just like there's their competitor backed by Paradigm, right?
Eigenlayer competitor backed by
Eigenlayer.
Paradigm and Cyberfund.
I also saw Eigen bought like an LRT. Is that right? Or they merged with like an LRT protocol or something?
That was today. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
What do you guys think of the whole economic security debate? That whether it matters or not. That was a big one in the Totally
I think
Greg podcast too.
Basically, the point of that Totali's trying to make is like you can just bribe validators or like employees at like Coinbase and these exchanges to do stuff, and so the actual amount of stake they have doesn't really matter. I don't know.
He's saying there are cheaper ways to attack these things than to acquire 51%.
Basically,
and therefore economic security doesn't matter. But yeah.
I mean, I think they're both right in a sense. I don't really think it's pretty hard to actually acquire 51% and attack something of any relatively decent size, because when most stuff is staked anyways, you can't buy that liquid. So I think economic security is probably overrated. I don't think it's like purely a meme, but I mean, if Sol goes up, if Sol gets to like a third or a fourth of Ethereum's market cap, it'll have technically more economic security because it's like a way higher staking ratio, right? But does that mean that I think Sol is more secure than ETH? No. So, I mean, I guess it depends. Like, it depends. Like, secure in what way, right? Yeah.
That it doesn't matter until it does, and people.
Yeah, exactly. But it does matter at some point. That's the thing. I agree that it's like a meme right now, and you don't even have to look at L1s. You can just look at like Chainlink, right, and all these things, and all the multi-sig L2s and stuff like this to know that economic security doesn't actually matter. But I think it definitely, like, if crypto matters, economic security will matter, because like the whole value proposition of this stuff is to be unstoppable. And I think over a long enough time frame, anything that can be attacked or exploited will be, and only really the most robust systems survive.
Well, the only one
that don't have economic security.
You do, yeah. Incident, but like at a lower scale, right? It's not gonna, like, the first incident isn't gonna be to the strongest thing, but it's obviously, but it's gonna, or the most valuable. It'll be something further down the line, but it'll start triggering the conversation and deeper thoughts into like what is the realistic attack approach.
I think Tolly's
for
examples
something
were
much
pretty
larger.
silly. Yeah, because there he was saying, oh, Chihuahua Chain and Classic and testnets haven't been attacked. It's like, well, there's not enough economic value at stake to make it worthwhile to attack, and they're
He
definitely
loves
cheaper
that.
attacks
He
too.
loves that dog chain.
Yeah,
I feel like Bitcoin's the only one that's actually like has problem, because you could just freeze, like if the US government wanted to come in and just like fucking freeze all the US like dollars in USDC or Tether, and it's like it's over.
Yeah. Bitcoin definitely fulfills that
Yeah.
purpose of being censorship resistant.
Like it's literally
The
fucking over if they do that. If they wanted to, like obviously that would be like a massive decision for them to make, and like probably pretty stupid. But like in theory, they could do that, and then you know, it's over. Like Bitcoin's the only one that's like feels like, you know, maybe not if like a big nation state tried to attack it, but like I feel like if it could get to the point where like nation states could try and like attack it somewhat, and it could be okay. I don't really see ETH or Solana or any of these other ones getting to that point.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably in the world where you have, you know, for in the nation state, on the nation state topic, it's where, you know, they're running these not for profit, you know, in the world where the economic security and the fees never really end up, you know, offsetting the decline in issuance, and you have to run these like somewhat altruistically, but because, you know, the value of what you're actually securing is valuable enough that you can subsidize the security out of pocket. That's probably a world where you can have some kind of attack, because then, you know, like the current setup helps reduce the concentration, because it's just economically rational actors. Whereas in a world where it's a bit more subsidized by like a nation state, then there's an opportunity for them to, you know, control enough to actually do something.
Yeah. That just reminds me, on Twitter yesterday, I was like listening to this clip. Do you know the Peter Zion guy, or Zian? I don't know how to say his last name. He's just saying like, this is back when FTX was crashing. He's like, Bitcoin's going fucking zero. It's literally going negative. And Joe Rogan's there like, oh damn, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, that reminds me of the nation state attack. He's like a pretty big proponent for the US, and like everything non-US just sucks.
Yeah, I think a lot of people read his. I don't know if has he really been right about a lot of stuff recently.
But he
think
says
he's-
it with such confidence.
I know that's
That's
why
the thing.
people-
That's the thing that makes me.
He's
I read
so
his book as well.
convincing on every topic he talks about.
Yeah,
And then
like
I
the end
hear
of the
him
world
talk
is
about
just the
Bitcoin.
beginning.
It's
Yeah,
literally it has another $17,000 to fall.
Yeah, no, I saw that clip too. It wasn't like he was dead serious that it was going to actual zero.
Yeah, he said it was going negative. I'm like, what?
It's
Yeah,
weird
because
because
with the
his
cost.
view of the world is like that the US will retreat. He has this book like the end of the world is just beginning, and his view of the world is basically that the US is king, has like the best location, best like natural resources, like food independent, energy independent, and it's going to retreat into itself because it doesn't need China or any of the rest of the world anymore, and just use Mexico as its low cost labor, and then leave the rest of the world to their own devices, and basically the oceans will become like unsafe again because they won't have the US Navy securing it. And so like commodities and like supply chains are all going to get fucked because all the stuff that we rely on, like the safe oceans and transport costs, so like commodity prices are going to spike and the world's going to get like really insecure and all this stuff, which seems like it would lead you to Bitcoin. But then he like really made curves Bitcoin. I don't know. The amount of certainty he speaks in like his book just cites so much stuff, and there's like not a single source. You know, there's not a single thing you can look up to see. He's like the U.S. Navy is literally what did he say? He's like it's like 10 times better than all the other navies combined. I'm like that just doesn't sound. That sounds like a lot better, you know, like like if all the other navies, yeah, like shit like this. So it's tough, and like when someone speaks with that much certainty, I feel like about stuff that's in the future and very hard to figure out, that's like a big red flag, I think.
Because it's all got to be like probabilistic, right?
He's also 100% sure
not-
Biden's going to win. He was 100% sure Biden was going to win, right? That was his big call for the election. He thought, yeah, Biden was going to win the election.
This coming one?
Yeah. He called it like a year and a half ago. Like Biden's 100% gonna win the election. Like everyone's stupid.
Yeah, he says stuff with too much certainty, which like throws you off. Like, and when you first listen, you're like, "Fuck, this guy knows what's up," and then
Yeah.
you like listen to him more, like, okay, like you're being really certain about these like very like John said.
Well,
like, very-
yeah. The
Yeah.
second he starts talking about a topic that you're decently well versed in, you kind of see through the bullshit.
Yeah. He is very convincing though. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
Do
we
you want
ran
to
out
talk
of.
about Robinhood? Is that like interesting?
Yeah. I guess
so
so.
they acquired what's it, Bitstamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means they're doing a lot of crypto volume. You would have to
And they
think.
probably have some insight maybe into like the future regulatory climate.
Yeah, well, did you guys see that Jeremy? Fuck, I don't know how to say his name. Jeremy, the head of Circle, Jeremy.
Hilaire.
Yeah, that guy yesterday was like tweeted out, "Crypto's in the best state it's ever been in the U.S." And like those are the people where it's like, okay, like him saying that, like,
Yeah, but part of that's because
What
there's
that
this
means
bill
to
that's
him
very
might be different.
beneficial to him.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
never mind.
This Fit 21.
What's good for
bill's
Circle
like-
isn't necessarily good for crypto.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wait till explain that to me, because I looked at that and I was like, this is bullish.
I don't. It would be good to get like Gabe. or
Gabe had a
someone.
good take on it.
But
Yeah.
there's been a lot of people talking about. Basically, it's very beneficial to entities like Coinbase and Circle. It's basically regulate apps, not protocols. But then you need to get these licenses if you're like an app. So you can go to Coinbase and like get your license to be in Coinbase's front end, things like that. So
And
So
also, it's like the
regulate
only
front
legal
end?
stablecoin would basically be Circle. Like that would. I think that was the idea.
yeah, like I don't even know if decentralized, like if you could actually do CDP stables or anything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I thought Jason posted like the volume for.
He said it was 4B, right? They
Robinhood?
did 4 billion.
He
40.
said that was meme coin.
40.
Oh, no, that was Duncan.
That was me who said 4 on meme coins, and then but yeah, 40 billion in Q1, which is pretty good. And I think that like if they're
Crypto
buying,
volume? 40 billion in crypto volume.
yeah,
36.
apparently like Wintermute was like
Wow.
10% of that, which is probably like the on-chain stuff, or
I
like
think Wintermute, I think, is one of their highest revenue sources now.
yeah, it was like 10% of their volume. I'm pretty sure like was sourced through Wintermute. So
I
that's
think it's
probably
second
like
after Citadel.
Yeah, and it's ahead of Jump now. Jump used to always like I swear once every other week there'd be like some big movement of the Jump wallet, and everyone have to be like, no, this is a custody wallet for Robinhood. Like, but they kind of backed away from a lot of that. Robinhood still hasn't relisted Sol or anything, but
maybe that's what they're doing with Bitstamp. It's like, okay, now they can provide like a longer tail of stuff.
Bitstamp is that's a weird one. It's been around forever, has never really raised. I don't really know who uses it.
I think it's more they just have the infrastructure for like
Yeah, maybe some
all the
licenses
assets.
too.
Yeah, probably that, because they're one of the people on the whatever like spot reference price thing for the CME futures. I'm pretty sure.
Do you think more exchanges will launch L2s like Coinbase did?
But like maybe Binance has its own chain, so no. BSC. What are the big ones? OKX.
Kraken has been talking about doing something. I could see Robinhood. You know what I could see Robinhood? The perfect chain for Robinhood seems like Blast. Like that seems like
Nothing
that's
going
like
on
the
on
chain
Blast.
that Robinhood would make. So yeah, Kraken, and then I guess OKX has one and all that. I think it's likely though that a lot of exchanges will try and build an L2. I don't think we don't need them.
I didn't know that OKX had a chain.
Yeah, I think they just see it as a pretty easy way to grow their business. It kind of makes a lot of sense from a financial perspective, and developers like it, I guess, because their app is going to be supported from, Coinbase. They released their smart wallet. You can actually see both your on-chain and Coinbase balances from your self-custody wallet, which is kind of cool. But I think, yeah, maybe the bigger thing with Robinhood though recently is kind of like this whole, I think there is a risk that the meme stock thing maybe is like dying, and because crypto offers such a better way to trade like meme coins, right?
Yeah, and they can't issue more of them. Like the fact that GameStop, the company, issued $75 million worth of, it was a 75 million? I think?
No.
75 million shares.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah. At highs is such a headwind for future meme stock speculation, knowing that they can just
Again.
capitalize on that in the most painful way for you as a meme stock enjoyer.
But it's like, how are
really,
the meme stocks going to go up if they literally just
yeah, you just know it's going to happen, right?
Sellers
Whereas like the
find their
dilution
shares.
here, yeah, the dilution here is more horizontal, right, with just more names, but at least your names, won't issue more tokens. So like I guess it's dilution in two ways, right? With you're not really going to have more meme stocks, but those meme stocks will issue more shares. Where here, the attention and capital get divided across more memes, but your specific meme can't screw you.
options on meme stocks that people love. You see these meme coins are super volatile, but it's like, and there's options on them. Like the fact that he had like whatever 500 million in options.
That stream was so bearish. That was really funny to watch. This is why the dev needs to sell early and just get out of the way. Speaking of meme coins, should we talk about the celeb coins? I feel like in this dearth of topics, we might as well touch on mother and daddy.
Well, what I thought was
This
the
is the
biggest
meta.
fumble, the biggest fumble is Hulk Hogan came and he didn't even name his coin brother. I was like, that was the easiest. Like, dude, hire me and I'll give. Like that was he named
Just
it Hulk.
1% of supply.
He named it Hulk and then it just dumped. But if he named it brother,
Didn't
it
he
goes
rug?
well with. It goes, yeah, he rugged. It goes well with mother. It's like the word he always says.
Brother would have been so good.
Is it just like what the hell?
But I think he's pretty cash strapped.
He
So,
pulled the LP, right? And just shrugged, I think. I didn't follow it closely. I didn't
How
know what
much
that
could
was.
he have possibly?
Well, yeah, I don't think for some reason I think a lot of celebrities think there's like no risk in launching your
Yeah.
own token. They just really don't, because they don't know anything about finance a lot of the times too, right? It's like a whole nother world. They just think, oh, you just launch a token and you make a lot of money. That sounds like a fun thing to do.
and I guess it's just short-term memory because I mean, I get it the first time around, but then you saw Floyd get in trouble, like Kim K got in trouble. They obviously went after the most high-profile names, so maybe if you think you're kind of further down the pecking order, you get away with it. But yeah,
They didn't
quick
even
Google
launch
search.
coins though. They just did
Oh,
undisclosed promotions.
Right.
These guys, yeah. I mean, I think celeb coins will like do well. Like one of them will end up doing well if the celeb does it right. Like it makes as much sense as meme coins, but at least there's something cultural people care about, like behind it. Literally. But
I mean, you can like it's I don't know. You can like reward your fans easier and stuff. There's better ways to do it than just like a token.
I
Although
think
it seems like
separate things, right?
Iggy's actually doing something with it. She actually, I don't know.
Celeb coin with utility access and some
Yeah.
of like unique engagement totally makes sense. But just a pure meme coin with your name on it is short term.
It's
yeah, I think it's like the social token idea from like the past cycle, right? It's like would be cool. Some celebs join launch the coin, and then they organize a dinner, and it's like a lottery of coin holders, and it's weighted by your holdings, or like your lottery ticket is weighted by I think there's a lot of design space because like some celebs, I don't know about Iggy, but like some celebs definitely people would pay like 6-7 figures to have dinner with them, right? Some people would, and to play video games with them, to like get some signed memorabilia, like
rug.
huh?
Share this version for 7 figs.
Bro, you're buying.
Nobody would do 7 figs. There was that one
that's
Justin Sun
insane.
Warren Buffett example, but then the meme is always like because there's the question of like, would you take 500K
Warren Buffett's a good
or a
example.
lunch with Jay-Z? And Jay-Z was like, take the money.
Yeah, like that's ridiculous.
I mean,
Warren Buffett. It's like Warren Buffett is like and then Justin Sunder's like giga rich, like get a
How much
photo,
you
get a partnership.
Yeah, but that's an example though.
Yeah, example like
That's
that.
edge
Nah,
case.
I think there's other edge cases where people would pay a lot of money, like Trump.
Yeah, but that's not like broad
would be-
adoption, right? That's
Yeah,
just, I mean,
Trump's
it's still a
how much were
utility.
those NFTs? How much would?
It is utility, and there's endless examples of this. I think some fighters as well, people would pay a lot of money to, or like athletes. I think people would pay a lot of money to hang out with. Yeah,
You can also do it to varying degrees, right? You can have one very exclusive, personal, intimate dinner with a handful of people, and then you can do broader stuff with like 100 people, where it's still pretty intimate, but it's not prohibitive for the masses in terms of the cost.
Yeah, I think what's cool is like this institution of behavior, and I feel like the biggest examples right now are like WorldCoin with the eyeballs, and then also there's like Telegram games, which are like,
or like, but a celebrity could just choose to put all their value through a token, right? Like, say you want me to appear on your advert, you need to buy like X amount of mother and burn and send it to the burn address.
yeah, but how much is Iggy? I don't know how to say her last name is own of mother.
No idea. I don't think anyone knows. This has
It's
been
like in order for sense, they would have to own like a lot.
There's probably also what she would say she has, and then what she actually has through a bunch of other random.
Yeah, or there'd have to be like a buy. You could see that then, and then like half.
I know.
I think that
definitely a
would be the
design
best
space.
way to do it, and then the tax just like goes to the LP and goes to you.
Have you heard of Trump?
But I'm saying as like a celeb point, but that there where it's not scalable beyond the exchanges.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a tax on sending it as well. So sending it to the exchange.
Well,
Well, it's just an access token, I think, is what you.
Yeah, I think that would be, if it's someone like super elite, I think you just want to make it like, if I'm long this person and I want to have access to them, hang out with them, like get all the merch, get all the, if I'm like a super fan, I want to own this thing.
And ideally, you
basically.
can reward, you can airdrop based on length of fandom, which is hard to do, but they've been it would be a pretty manual process. You'd have to like they talked about it on Twitter and stuff like that. But if there's a way to kind of historically reward your most dedicated fans in some way.
Yeah, it's just bearish that I've never seen a good example of it done. And like, is
well,
it better than
WorldCoin
just
is, I
celebrity?
think, and these I think WorldCoin's the best
Of what?
of you incentivize. Like it's for all these different things. It's gonna be different behavior to incentivize, or like.
Oh no, incentivized behavior definitely works. I'm talking about like celeb coins. Like,
Yeah, I guess the path to it is, I guess there are multiple paths there, but one of them is this kind of iterative one where it starts with a meme, and then they're like, all right, we need to figure out how to do something with it, and you keep, each one has some deeper level of involvement, and then from there, it would basically be like a celeb works with a crypto native team to actually try and build something, like take it a step further, a meaningful step further, rather than these kind of gradual improvements where it actually looks like something that we're describing, or it just gets dumber and dumber and more cash grabby.
Mother holding strong no market cap. This thing.
what about Daddy? The Tate Ansem beef was funny. Ansem kind of buried him. that was unexpected thing to wake up to.
Yeah, got aggressive quickly.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like this just like kind of engagement stuff.
No way.
And then it got, because he was saying I had, Tate was like, I have no exposure, and then the Zach XBTs of the world were doing a bunch of kind of wallet analysis and suggested that he did in fact have a bunch of exposure to it, which is much more likely.
Banana all-time high. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned it yet.
I don't think we've had a podcast without a mention of it.
Almost had it. Almost made it.
Almost made it and fucked it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Kind of light. Is there anything else people saw this week that we wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, macro stuff. Anyone have a hot macro take before we wrap up?
Dollars pooping on all the fun right now. You had the soft inflation. You had Sailor coming out saying they're going
Soul's
to
getting
issue
wrecked.
more to buy more BTC, and then dollars just kind of ruining the fun right now.
Man, the whole market. I just opened up trading you. God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what we've been saying for a while, though, right? Like the majors look good and everything else just looks kind of.
Well, I mean, majors don't necessarily look good
crappy.
right now.
Because
Yeah,
Majors look
Tom's
better
one of
than
the
I
few.
mean, a lot of stuff's down like 50%. A lot of these alts are down
looks
like
good.
The setup into the end of year is very constructive and keeps getting better. But I think short term, it still seems like there's a lot of people who still want to sell.
Yeah, this is where you get. This is the shakeout.
Right?
yeah.
This is a accumulation, not distribution, right?
Yeah, this is the shakeout. This is some bullish selling.
Reaccumulation. Yeah, I think it's interesting the OTC markets. We've been speaking to some of the people doing that. Some of the liquid stuff is not getting bids at like 80% below market price.
80%.
Wow.
Like, name dropping
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
that.
it's.
I'll tell you off.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah, but it's also. I would take that with a grain of salt because you're also buying locked tokens, right? So it's a slightly different exposure, but
Still.
still very.
I mean, it's
meaningful.
yeah,
still very telling.
God damn.
yeah.
Send those things right to zero.
That just shows how
I remember
dumb.
Celeste at $20 had like unlocks coming up in October, and the OTC market was like on the way up.
Nah, Celestia has
So
some.
technically, which one is the correct market though? Right, like one is much more liquid than the other. So do you
No,
assign more weight to the?
How dumb crypto market structure is. Yeah.
Yeah, it also just shows the appetite for selling
It's pretty forward
lock
looking.
stuff.
Secondaries is pretty forward looking on the low flow, high PV stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Fairly on more liquid, like Solana.
He has got good secondary demand. I have
Yeah.
not looked into Ondo though.
Example, like
Yeah, I know.
totally-
I was more so just like qualifying.
Yeah, it's a name by name basis, honestly, because some of these
100%.
things trade pretty significant secondary volume. So where it's hard to even say what the cost basis is, but the unlocks are going to be, there's definitely going to be like way less sell pressure than some people think. And others, there's literally no bid at 80% below market price. And those unlocks are going to be brutal. Yeah, OTC brokers have alpha for sure.
Here's a rule of thumb: don't touch any low flow to high
Just look at
FPV
trading
thing
too.
unless you're very confident in what you're doing. That's just like a good rule of thumb. Like if you're casual,
Unless it's square bracket, my bags.
no, I don't invest in any of those things because those are all the VC orchestrated list on sex and stuff. But yeah, just a general rule of thumb: is be very careful.
VC orchestrated. Who are these VCs orchestrating this stuff, dude? You're at a VC for many years.
VC and
You are a
team
VC.
orchestrated. VC team market maker orchestrated. There's actually a good podcast with the head
So
of interview.
we're orchestrating. Jan and I are orchestrating.
And
We're orchestrators now.
and Omar
orchestrating.
from Second Lane. There's a good podcast that talks about this stuff. Let me
The one with
right here.
the
Give me
Empire
a
one.
second.
Yeah. Why is
Yeah.
that a good podcast?
Just if you want to understand like how this stuff is like launched and like this, just if you don't know much about the secondaries market or just like how these tokens actually come to be a good one to listen to if you're interested in learning more. It's by Empire. It's with the head of Wintermute and the head of Second Lane. You can go look for it. It's talking about, I think, something like the underbelly of crypto markets.
All right, let's wrap.
Probably wrap.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think we're
Thanks
good.
very much, guys. This was good. And see you again in 2 weeks.
Bye bye.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah.
Nothing said on the Hive Mind is a recommendation to buy or sell securities or tokens. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only, and any views expressed by anyone on the show are solely our own opinions, not financial advice.